Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to the page. God will do it for you. I'm going to go ahead and jump straight into my second video. And like I said, this video is going to be topicked on how I gained custody of my son. Now, back in 2018, unfortunately, my son's mom and we divorced. We weren't married and we divorced. And at that point, thankfully, I did get awarded joint 50-50 custody, but I also had the ability to see my son 5 days a week. So Monday through Friday, I was able to have him, and also every other weekend. So it's my main goal, and just the thought in my head was, I don't want to be a part-time dad. I've had him all this time. It's just not something I'm willing to settle with. And luckily, my son and his mom, we came to an agreement, and she agreed that, hey, yep, he needs to be in his life. So the judge made it so. So thankfully that went the way it went. And just while I was on the journey, I used to always think in my head, what does a full-time mom do, or a full-time parent in general? They are there for everything. They go to all the appointments, they attend all the school meetings, they attend everything, they do everything. So I made sure that I did exactly that. Every appointment that he had, I went. Every school meeting, I went. Everything, any issue, I made sure I was there, and I was extremely consistent with it. Thankfully, I made sure I had a job that understood that, hey, I need to be there for those things, because just being honest, you know, being a male and just experiencing it as me being myself, you get treated differently. There was plenty of times where there was meetings happening and they didn't even look at me. The teachers didn't even look at me. The doctors didn't even look at me. They'll basically talk to the mom and treat me as if I was a ghost, and I had to sit there and endure that. But just something in my mind told me that one day you will get the respect. You'll be respected, and they will be attentive to you and acknowledge you as if you're just as there as the mom is. Just over time, you know, me being consistent led to an inconsistency on the other end. I'm gonna make sure that I don't say anything negative about my son's mom, because we do get along. We do get along the best we can, and I want to keep it that way. But I have to say certain things so that way you can understand exactly what I'm saying. So this isn't going to be a video of me talking down on my son's mom. I didn't get custody of my son doing that. God wouldn't have seen it that way either. But me being consistent, it did allow, you know, for inconsistency on the other end. They're like, well, if you're going to do it, then I'll stay at work. So just me creating a portfolio and a spreadsheet, it was just a consistency of me, and then a slight non-consistency of what was going on the other end. Well, frustration and things, that's gonna happen. Just over time, y'all aren't together anymore. Anybody that is going through something like this, or they clearly understand that, yes, there's going to be tension, there's going to be disagreements, because y'all are no longer together. And at that point, the parenting style of the opposite person kind of doesn't matter to the person that has primary. That's what I've learned. And you have to make a decision. You're either going to argue, which can make things worse, or be patient. Be patient and listen. Don't react. Don't react. Listen. Be patient. Because what I've learned is being consistent strengthens you. Not reacting to everything, it gives you discernment. And being patient, solutions will start to expose themselves. So just over time, of course, my son's mom started dating someone, and I started noticing some things that, maybe should be done. Not maybe, but should be done. And, they weren't being done. But, I keeping my mouth shut some of the times, just doing it. But then some of the other times I was like, I gotta say something about this. It's just my nature. Sometimes I gotta say it. There's nothing I could do. But just that happening over and over. And then until it started to really sink in, I was like, man, I have to pay to see my son. Because that's the way I looked at child support. I was like, I have to pay to see my son, basically. And I see him just as much as she does, if not more, depending on the appointments or whatever the case, because I came and got him in the morning times, took him to school, and then I also got him in the afternoon, 5 days a week, or sometimes every other day. But either way, I saw him every day. I saw him every day, except on her weekends that she was supposed to have him. Well, just meeting other people fall in love, the attention starts to go elsewhere. And like I said, again, I started noticing some things that were going on, and then my son started telling me things. So, luckily I was a resolution supervisor at the job I was at, and it taught me how to deal with different personalities and real tense situations and not to overreact. And so I became patient until one day in 2021. So like I said, we got divorced in 2018, 2021, of years of consistency, years of me being patient, years of just being frustrated sometimes and being like, this isn't fair. Something happened that shouldn't have happened. I'm not going to say what it is, but something happened that shouldn't have happened, and my son told me, and that's where it began. As far as like you're about to get your son. I didn't know it. I didn't even think it was possible. At the time, I just wanted a fair outcome. I was like, why should I be paying child support when I'm doing just as much as the other person? It's not fair. This should be more fair. But, once my son told me that thing, thankfully I didn't overreact to it. I recorded what he said, and I just thought about it, and I gained perspective from my mom, my dad, and my brother. They all had really great advice, and I basically took pieces of all of their advice and compiled it all into one. And at the time I wasn't really God. I listened to him. I just didn't know him as I did now. I didn't know him as I do now. Excuse me. And so, I followed the advice. It worked, and it's like, all right, I have a solution now, because now I have a paperwork trail, but I just didn't know how to get them still. I didn't know how to go about anything. And I remember that happened in January of 2021, the incident of something that shouldn't have happened. And I remember in February of 2021, that's when I got on my knees and I was like, God, what do I do to make this fair? And I kid you not, the response was, what are you willing to do to get your son? And at the time I didn't know that was the Holy Spirit, but he said, what are you willing to do to get your son? And my response was, I'll do whatever it takes. So he gave me very clear instructions. Okay, leave your job, take your 401k. I totally forgot about my 401k. It had a whole lot of money in it. He said, take your 401k, get the best lawyer in the city, tell them what's going on, and fix the family house up. So I did just that. I went to the lawyer, and this was the first time, once I laid out everything that was going on and laid out my consistency and this and that, and the first time I actually had hope for something, period, just hope. She said, normally this is an uphill battle, but with everything that you presented to me, you have a good chance. You have a chance at getting what you want. And so again, at the time I was thinking, I just want a fair situation, no child support. I never thought I could get custody of my son, because everybody around me would say it's not something that men get, especially black men. We don't get it. It's not possible. So don't get your hopes up. Don't be mad if it doesn't happen, this and that. A lot of negative responses, man. I didn't have nobody to talk to about it. It's just me believing, like, if God told me to do this, he wouldn't have told me to do it if it wasn't possible. Well, initially the first court date was scheduled in May, and then that got pushed back to July. So I was like, oh, come on. Well, in between that time frame, a situation happened to where my son's mom needed me to hold on to my son full time in March of 2021. And during that time, since I had let the job go, I had utilized the money from my 401k just to, you know what, I got enough to be sustained off of this. Let me just focus on him in school, because at the time he wasn't doing so hot. Just the focus wasn't there. And from March until May, he improved drastically, because we were drilling it. He improved drastically, and he ended up getting most improved for his grade and most improved for his class and other awards as well, which was really surprising. So it proved that the time and effort that I put into him and that was put into him worked. Well, now we're coming down to July. At that point, I'm a little nervous. I'm freaking out because I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen. And my lawyer straight up asked me, he's like, what do you really want? And I was like, I really want him. And I was like, but nobody says it's possible. And she was like, if you want him, that's what we'll do. That's what we'll go after. And I said, well, let's do that then. Okay, I want him. I want him. And she was like, okay, that's what we're going to tell the judge. I kid you not, y'all. The court date came. I remember the night before I was crying. I was scared. I was like, I don't spent all this money, thousands of dollars, and everybody around me is telling me it's not possible. Don't get mad if it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for us, man. Just a lot of negative, man. I didn't have anybody to relate to. The day of the court date, the judge came in there, and it just happened to be the same judge that did the divorce. And so he remembered. Somehow he remembered. And this is where the delay became a blessing. He remembered, but having the most improved records to add on top of everything, it increased my case. So God delayed that to be a buffer. And the funny thing was, the person that could relate to what I did was the judge. Because right when we got in there, I kid you not, we were in there for 3 minutes. So 3 years of dealing with mess, we were in there for 3 minutes. I am not exaggerating. 3 minutes. It was fast. It was so fast we didn't even know what the heck happened. I was like, well, what happened? And the lawyer had to tell me what happened. But he came in there. He said, I read over the case. I had an issue similar to this. My granddaughter's son, he wasn't being taken care of the way I would like to take care of my grandson. So I stepped down from being a judge for a time period so I can help him. And he said, I don't know if it was me or if it was just, God coming into his mind and helping him gain the knowledge rapidly. He said, but he got most improved too. So he smiled at me. And that was the first time I was like, man, find me somebody that gets it, like to sacrifice what you don't want to sacrifice, but to make sure that you help the youth. Because that's what I consider my son. My son, I'm going to make sure that he's great to the best of my ability. And that was it. He said that statement. He smiled at me. I smiled at him. And he looked at my lawyer and said, you know the schedule. Then at that point, he just made the verdict. He's going with his father full time. Your father's to be awarded this. He has primary. Just bam, 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 bam. And then he smacked the gavel and walked out. That was it. There was nothing else. No, nothing. And I was totally shocked because, a lot of people have to deal with parenting schedules, people coming in to visit your house, this and that. And God told me, the Holy Spirit said to fix the family house, which is the second house my mom had bought. And she called it the transition house so we can get up out her house and learn how to deal with life a little bit. I fixed it up because that's what we were going to be for a little while until we got our own place. 5 months later, we ended up getting our own place. But we fixed it up in a way that I'll be comfortable there, and he would be comfortable there. Nobody could say anything. We didn't have to deal with nothing, y'all. I just straight up got him. That was the first time I really knew that God was real. You say this and that, you say, you believe and this and that, but for that to happen, that's supernaturally. I read in the Bible, God does things supernaturally. He doesn't do things in the natural. He does things supernaturally. And when he sees that your heart's in the right place, he sees that you're willing to sacrifice everything and trust him, he'll bless you. He'll exceed your expectations. I didn't expect to get him. And I just expected a fair resolution as far as how things are being handled, time-wise, money-wise, things like that. And I just got him. So to this day, I still have my son. We're doing the best we can. We're doing good. Just teaching him about God every day. And that is how I got him. You're not going to get custody of your child by having ill intentions to get him. Like if you're just like, well, I want him just because I don't want to pay child support. Good luck. Or I want him because I can't stand her. I want control. I want this, that. You're going to be paying thousands of dollars. At that point, you could just work out a resolution between you and the ex. If you want a fair resolution, if you're going through something similar to this, get on your knees and pray and sincerely ask God, how are we going to make this happen? You got to start speaking it into it. How are we going to make this happen? What needs to be done? Give me the vision, give me the wisdom, the knowledge to know exactly what I need to do so that way I can have a fair resolution. Because that's what it's all about. You just want things to be fair. You just want the child to be all right. And that's what happened. That's what happened. So this is just the end of the first video. If you like this, if you have any questions or comments, or if you just want to post your stories in the comments, I'll be more than happy to give feedback or just give you a clapping hand or some support if you're going through the same thing. Like I said, like, share, subscribe. My journey has been something else, and I see now that there's more than likely people that are going through the same thing or something similar. And if I could be a blessing by telling my story, then so be it. So I hope you all enjoyed this. Like I said, I have more and more and more and more stories to tell, just how God has done things supernaturally, just to help me and my son survive, whether we needed something. And I'm like, the saying money doesn't just pop up out of nowhere is not true. God can do whatever he wants. He's in control. I'm going to make sure I share this with you guys. So again, I appreciate you if you took the time to watch this and listen. Until next time.